How's it going, people? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the bigger picture with Mo back again. How's it going, Mo? You good?
I'm good, man. I'm not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, obviously, aside from Arsenal, can't complain too much as I always tend to say it. It's been a while since we've been on together. Obviously, we've got the Forever Arsenal podcast now, so we're on there a bit more regular. But in terms of being on my channel, it's been a few weeks. I'm looking at the fixtures that's happened. We've been knocked out the FA Cup. We've won one in the league, lost two, drawn one. Overall, Mo, what's your thoughts on the last, 4 league games and FA Cup against Southampton?
It's not good, man, is it? And I kind of feel like the last time we spoke, we were in the middle of a good spell.
Yeah.
We had a few wins, and then we went and won the next game, I think, or next league game at least. I can't remember. But anyway, we were in the middle of a good spell, and then, unfortunately, since then, do you know what? It's interesting though. Since then, a lot of the talk is like a different phase of the season, because a lot of the talk in the early part of the season was how bad we were. Then a lot of the talk was about turning the corner, and we actually started to play well. And now the talk hasn't gone back to how bad we are. It's been about referees and VAR.
Yeah.
And I think people are almost forgetting, because we had won a few games, that whilst all of that is true, VAR and referees and the decisions have been awful, we're still significantly below the level that we need to be. Yeah. And I almost feel what's interesting is that we're on as bad of a run as we were before. And before there was a lot of focus and pressure on Arteta, but now there's none. And I feel like he's being really shielded because of the VAR and refereeing controversy that surrounds Arsenal right now.
Let me just go back to the FA Cup quickly, because around the FA Cup one, I think we all thought, including me and you, that he sacrificed the FA Cup for the league. Yeah. And then he came out with the comments about, behind the scenes, there was a few problems injury-wise, and that's why he did it. I was speaking to Lee Judges about it, and he disagrees. He thinks that he's, fibbing about it, to say the least. What do you think? Do you believe that? Because before you give your opinion, I'll say he's, put his chest out for bigger problems at this club. I think with especially the Ozil situation, he's put his hands up and said, listen, it's on me. If you have any thoughts or feelings, it's on me. So regarding this situation in particular, I feel like if he's saying there's some concerns, then I'd believe him around that subject. What do you think?
I always try and go with the mantra that I'll take things on face value. Like, if the club are saying something on face value, then fine, I'll take it on face value. And I can't pick and choose in a way, because when the Ozil thing happened, he was kind of exiled from the team, and Arteta took responsibility for that, as you've just mentioned now. I think probably there's stuff going on behind the scenes. If he's coming out and saying it, I'll take it on face value, and we'll run with that. Because if you don't do that, you can forever be coming up with your own theory on things, and it's kind of a endless battle. So now he's come out and he's said this about the squad. And again, I find myself think about the injuries, and again, I kind of find myself thinking, God, do I really believe it? But fine, I'll take it on face value, because I feel that a lot of people that don't take things on face value, they just pick and choose and use things when they want to beat the club. If Arteta came out and said, yeah, my bad, I rotated, I shouldn't have, they'd believe him, and they'd use it to criticize him. And if he comes around and says what he did and says, look, it was out of my hands, players got injured, then they aren't going to believe him, and they're going to still find something to batter him with. Yeah. So I at least try and like to approach it with that level of consistency to give people a fair chance. But I personally think deep down, he could have, even if we take what he's saying at face value, like I'm saying, to give him that consistency, I personally think he could have at least included one more form player in that game. Let's say Lacazette.
Yeah, yeah.
And I realised that Aubameyang had, that was the first game that he missed.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But I still feel like, even in spite of that, Lacazette is not the most injury-prone player or anything like that. If it was Martinelli, maybe it'd be different. But I still feel like he should have played Lacazette. And then I look at the results after that FA Cup game and I say, look, have you vindicated yourself in any way? Have you then gone, because maybe it was even yourself. You said it's not about what you just do in the next game. It's about what you go and do in the 2, 3, 4, 5 after that, where you can turn around and say, okay, fine. That rest that you allowed your players to have, has that kind of added more momentum to our season because of fitness levels or whatever? The answer is no.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think someone said to me yesterday about Emil Smith-Rowe's performance and saying he looked a bit tired. And I don't agree with that, because yes, I know he's come back from injury, but I think someone his age, you know, at his level, I think that I believe we worked out to 9 games since the Chelsea one, including the Chelsea one. And I think that's 9 games in the last 6-7 weeks. I don't think that's an overload of games, you know. So I think that there is potential that you are right. There is players there that, regardless of injury, he could have played to make up for the ones that were out with injury and his hands were forced in. So in a sense, yeah, I guess he did sacrifice some of the FA Cup for the league. But doesn't that show more ambition? Doesn't that show that with us in general, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because I love the FA Cup, regardless of what I think about it in terms of what you do building upon it, which is very little, because even financially, you look at how much you win, not a lot, you know, not a lot at all. So it's just got that nostalgia, you know, the FA Cup, Arsenal, it makes sense. It's the love. So I'll always have that. But I do understand that for Arteta, for us fans, we do want more. We do want top 4. We do want Champions League football, even though it seemed very far, even at that Southampton game, let alone now. Do you think it shows something good that, firstly, do you think you don't agree that he had to prioritise in the FA Cup, do you?
No, I don't think we should, because, you know, what I find funny about it, right, is we at that time had a huge squad, so much so we had to leave people out of our 25-man Premier League squad. Do you know what I mean? We have got a very big squad. We're not Burnley here. And, you know, if we take this view, you're never going to go and win a double. Arsenal, thankfully, have gone and won many doubles in their time. And, you know, are we just meant to forget about this? There is a method where you are able to balance. And just my frustration was that he went completely without a form players. All I asked for is just 1 or 2. And then I think that's a more balanced approach. Even then in the next league game, for example, you can turn around and say, look, you know, I'm only going to give, let's say, Emil Smith-Rowe played in the FA Cup, or Lacazette played in the FA Cup. And in the league game coming up after that, you say, provided we're in the right situation, I'm going to take you off at half time, and then give Balogun a go, for example. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I just don't think he had any balance with that to try and pay respect to 2 competitions. I find that really frustrating. And what's interesting is that in the last game, I was sitting there thinking, I wish we were still in the FA Cup. I was vividly thinking that watching the game.
Yeah, because it gives you, that's what I said when we got knocked out the FA Cup. I remember saying it 23 days into January, our only hope for a trophy is pretty much done and dusted. You know, at least that was something to take from last year in terms of we won a trophy out of 2020. You know, that's something to take with us. This year, in the first month, we pretty much know. We're going to talk about Europa League shortly, but we pretty much know that was the best hope we had of a trophy, and it's gone. Yeah. And now look at even the last few games. That's deflated us in terms of league, because I've always maintained that top 4 is a dream, even at the Southampton game. But there was a door there. There was a shining light there, let's say, that people I understood was clinging onto. Now it's not there anymore. Is it there anymore? Is top 4 out of the window?
I think so, yeah. Realistically, I think so. I think top 6 is a real conversation now, and top 4 would have to be kind of like a very, very, very positive end or positive second half to the season. The only problem is, though, is that you can't rule things out in this season because it's just such a crazy season. And I think I mentioned this in my last AFTV interview that I think since records began, there's been more away wins than any season, you know. And I mean, if it's not exactly that, it must be close. And that's crazy when you think about it. You know, it really is. We're talking about like a huge amount of games, huge amount of seasons. And this one just sticks out. And that's obviously because of the impact of coronavirus and fans and not being there and that sort of thing. So the unpredictability is so great that who knows what might happen and whether there'll be a surprise package, whether West Ham will be in top 4, you know, or Arsenal or whoever it might be. So I think it's very unlikely, but absolutely no way in hell we should be giving up.
Well, on that, I'm not even insinuating we should give up, but I'll ask, what does top 6 do for you? Do you see something in the top 6? Would you say that's something we need to aim to attain now? I know it's hard not to say we'd be giving up, not to say we can attain it, but in a way, I'm looking at it like, well, what top 6 gives us, or top 7, with FA Cup in mind, it gives us Europa League entry.
Yeah.
Now, there's an argument to be had that maybe we need a season where we're just fully focused on the Premier League and the domestic competitions, especially with the Europa League format and whatnot. I'm not sure even if you agree with that, but it is a debate to be had, because I tend to agree now, after 4 years, I'd rather just focus on one. If we're not getting into the Champions League, and the reason being for that is not because we're ready for the Champions League, but I think if we get into the Champions League, it gives Kroenke, the ownership, no excuse whatsoever this summer. Wages come off in a big lump sum, would have Champions League money. It'd literally be over to you. No excuses. But without Champions League, we'll always have the excuse of Europa League, the wage budget, all of that. And I understand those. You have to understand the risks and the limitations. I understand, even though I'm still angry about how it's come to this. Do you think top 6 is something to really attain? Because as much as I don't want us to give up, maybe we're better off without Europa League next year, Mo.
Look, maybe, but the thing is, right, top 6 is nothing to aim for, equally nor's top 4. You know, I still maintain that. I know the riches of Champions League and everything, but it's just simply not something that we should be saying is a target in any way. So as far as I'm concerned, the only reason we talk about these things is because it's just the next step on the ladder, you know, to show progress, to build confidence in the team and that sort of thing, you know, because 8th is, you know, unacceptable, 7th or 8th or whatever. At least let's get that Europa League qualification. And I hear what you're saying in terms of, you know, kind of questioning Europa League in terms of, are we better off without it? But I still want to be in a chance to win competitions. And I can't, on one hand, say, oh, I still wish we're in the FA Cup, and on the other hand, say, oh, I don't want to be in the Europa League, because I just want to win competitions. And I know that the FA Cup isn't the biggest competition out there, but it still goes on your major honours board. And the Europa League, again, it's like the second fiddle to the real deal, the Champions League, but it still goes on your honours board. And to me, these things are really important. They need to be present for a club like Arsenal in terms of making sure that, you know, you're continually adding to that honours board and you don't go stale. Because look what happened to us for 9 years when we weren't able to get a trophy on the board. And then when we finally did win the FA Cup, more followed. And I really believe in that. You get used to winning. You get used to a culture of winning. And when you don't win, you kind of, maybe the acceptance creeps in a little bit, or that pressure not to win creeps in a little bit. Every season, you want to be making progress. Once you've won a trophy, you kind of have to build on it. You have to do something. You can't take a step back in football. It's just not allowed.
I don't want to make it about him because he's not a subject today, but just to add to that, you know, not making Europa League and the loss of even more money. I know it's not as much as Champions League, but even more money. Do you have any hope that might sway Kroenke's hand in any way, shape or form to, if not act, sell? No?
No. Listen, as I've always said, you know, my worry with Kroenke is that since he's come in, he has probably tripled his money in terms of value of this football club.
Yeah.
And if the European Super League that we hear about does happen, and I think in my lifetime it will happen, I think then the valuation of the clubs that are part of that competition goes up even further. You know, significantly more, because the TV money involved in that is going to be incredible. And I just wonder, is that what he's holding out for? Because clearly, you know, in any investment, there's a time to get in and a time to get out. And people have asked whether the football bubble is going to burst. I don't think it is, not for a long, long time, because there's, you know, as I say, with this European Super League, there's a product here that is going to be even more lucrative. So that's my concern, Turkish. I'm really, really worried about that he's here for a long time.
Yeah, no, he could be. He could be. You know, I'm just being hopeful to say that maybe he would, because obviously it's a couple of years now we've been making a loss. And, you know, and no business owner wants a company that's making a loss. You know, either you act or you sell, and one way or another. But you're right. On the other hand, around the corner, there's a potential of a whole other revenue stream. And the thing about it is, yes, he has tripled, maybe even quadrupled his money at Arsenal, but it's through no warrant of his own action. It's literally been the change in football commercially. It's literally been the influx of TV, the influx of extra revenue worldwide, all of that that's aided to this. So he's literally probably looking at it like, well, I haven't touched them for 15 years. And I've made what, $1 billion out of them already, in a sense,
but,
in terms of value.
But to be fair to him, that's why he would have bought Arsenal. I don't think that he bought them for no reason. He doesn't look like he's passionate about football. I think he bought them because you thought, I think this industry is going to increase in value. And it's funny because I remember saying to my dad, look, I don't have the cash, buy shares in Arsenal, because I was like, this is when I think they were about 11 grand a share or something like that. And then, I just kind of feel like he obviously saw that there was money to be made in this game, and is only going to get more global and that sort of thing. And that's it. So he'll probably accept a few losses along the way. Cash flow is not going to be an issue for him. He can afford in his portfolio of businesses, and also he's married to the woman who inherited Walmart or something, isn't he? So they're not short of cash, that family.
No, definitely not. But like I said, I don't really want to make it about them, but I think David Dein might have had a part to play in terms of trying to knit it together, because I remember he came in with Kroenke. He probably saw the ownership being integral, moving into the financial kingdom football moved into, and that probably opened his eyes. I know, even with David Dein, do you put any blame on him for having the owner we have now? Because he came in with Kroenke, then he came in with Usmanov.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Hillwood went back to Kroenke. So who do you put any blame on Dein? I don't personally, but a lot of fans do debate me and say, and I understand because he introduced him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. I understand it on that level. So yes, he got it wrong in terms of Kroenke, but he got it right in terms of let's take advantage of these people that are interested in buying the club and potentially putting money into the club. Obviously, without David Dein then being involved afterwards, I feel as though Kroenke was able to run his own ship in a way, and David Dein was hugely influential in the way Arsenal were run. I would have been a lot more comfortable if we had made that change in kind of ownership structure and in our business model with David Dein at the helm. But he has to. I'm sure David Dein, must sit there sometimes and have an element of regret at the way the direction the club has gone in since he, intervened in that sense. But then on the other hand, he did try and come in with Alisher Usmanov, who's actually referred to himself as a fan, which Kroenke has never done. I know words can be cheap, right? But it seemed like he was more interested in the football than Kroenke is or ever has been. But I always used to make the point, Turkish, that if you're running a business, if anyone is running a business, no matter what it is, if let's say one or two of the world's 100 richest people get in touch with you and say, oh, I have an interest in your business, or I'm a supporter of your business, or I want to be financially involved in your business. This is the 100 richest people out of 7 billion walking the earth. You would be stupid to say, go away. I don't understand that. It's kind of an opportunity. You should be saying like, wow, let's contextualize this. Top 5 leagues in European football, there's 100 teams, roughly. And we're talking about 100 men here. There's 92 teams in the English football pyramid, and we're talking about 100 men, right? So, if you take the 92 multiplied by the 5 European major countries or whatever in football, there's not many of these billionaires to go around. And when I saw that Arsenal have got 2 of them kind of trying to get involved, I just thought to myself, we should be brokering a deal here. I don't care how we do it. It could have been Usmanov's face as our new sponsor on our shirts. I don't really care. Give us £1 billion a month, a year, a season for it. Just whatever the hell you need to do. Get these on board, get them on side, monetize it, exploit it, use it to your advantage. And I just thought we were really stupid by entering that sort of like lockdown agreement that the board entered and said that we're freezing them out and almost kind of being arrogant, turning our nose up at them and then doing the 180. I thought we mishandled it completely. And that could have been a seminal moment in the way we chose to use these individuals in the history of Arsenal Football Club, and we mismanaged it.
Yeah, I think you're bang on there. And on top of that, I've said it before and I'll say it again, there was a hint of racism in the whole way it was conducted by Arsenal Football Club's, some of the board members and Kroenke in general. I feel like it's kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face in a sense. I feel like they didn't want to work with someone from that background. And essentially, even before we sold to Kroenke, there was comments out of the club saying we want to keep the club English, we want to keep the club British, and then we went on to sell it to Kroenke. You know, so I believe there was a bit of that to it as well. And essentially, with the Hillwood Dean battle, you know, it didn't work out enough. You was about to say something more.
Yeah, I'm just googling Google Images, right? If you Google image Usmanov banner, you'll see two banners that were used in Arsenal's ground. One of them said "Sod off Jabba," a reference to Jabba the Hutt, which is like very derogatory, and has got a picture, an outline of the face of Usmanov. And the other one was "Love Arsenal, hate Usmanov," and in fact they were next to each other. Now, or maybe it's the same banner, I can't quite tell. But anyway, we know what Arsenal's like. Anything you want to display, that's got to go through numerous approvals at the club. And, you know, you get a banner, to have a banner put up like that, it's got to have a fire safety certificate, and you've probably got to email the club beforehand. I think Red Action, who I've got a lot of time for actually, might have been involved in this at the time, and they got it wrong. So yeah, in fact they were, because it's got their it's got Red Action written on it, and you know they're the Arsenal Supporters Group. Now that to me is quite shocking, because it's such a derogatory, childish, insulting banner, and that was approved at Arsenal, you know, internally. So I mean, if you needed any more evidence of how mismanaged that was, there you go.
Well, and I've got to ask, I didn't want to stick on this subject too long, but this is why I have you on, because we can delve, you know, further into these more, you know, controversial topics as well. And I think, why, Mo? Why? Because surely, like when I ask why, I mean, why was that banner produced? What did Usmanov do to us? What has Usmanov ever done to Arsenal or Arsenal fans, aside from show some interest in buying the club and also saying the right things? Like you said, I'm a fan. He also said, I want to give Wenger the money. I want to provide the players for Wenger. You know, we was all in love with Wenger. When I heard that, I said to myself, well, you know what? I wasn't too much in love with Wenger at that time, but I thought someone needs to come and be the middleman. And if we got an owner like Usmanov who demands, you know, quality and demands winning, then it might be a good partnership with Wenger. That's why I asked why, Mo. Do you see any reason why some banners like that would have needed to come out? Did he say anything venomous? Did he do anything venomous? When I look at Kroenke, who has done a lot to us and who would deserve maybe not banners as abusive as that, but deserve banners at the very least, doesn't have any of that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what I would say is that Kroenke or Usmanov, none of them deserve, like, you know, because this is so childish. Sod off Jabba. I mean, that's so ridiculously childish, you know, and Arsenal should be embarrassed of that. That moment in our history, we should be embarrassed about. Red Action got it completely wrong. And, you know, internally in the club, whoever signed that off and said, yes, you can display that. What about the tradition, values, class that we claim to have as a club? I mean, no one deserves that. But then I think the more important question is not why the banner went up, but why did we choose to almost like have so much arrogance to their approach or to the approach of Usmanov or even Kroenke at the time. And for me, I think it comes down to two things. And one of them I agreed with at the time, and I'm conflicted now. And the other one is sheer arrogance. You know, that who are you? We're Arsenal, you know, almost like the Bank of England club, this history, the Queen supports us, you know, all of this nonsense. It's just kind of, I feel like Arsenal have a very rich history and tradition at Arsenal. And it was a case of, who are you? You're not English. You have no interest here. You don't belong here. That sort of thing. Yeah. But the other thing was that the thing what I'm conflicted about was being sustainable. I took a lot of pride in Arsenal being a sustainable club and having a business model that was self-sufficient, because ultimately, I regard myself as a bit of a purist when it comes to football, and that's how a club should be run. You know, clubs are run. Clubs are community-based in England. That's the story. They're not franchises. They're community-based institutions. They all have a story about how they were set up. So with Arsenal, we all know the story about the Armoury, and you know, there's a natural element to how these clubs are set up, and they belong to the history of the communities that they were set up in. Obviously, we moved from Woolwich because we thought the club that already were in North London weren't good enough. But in any case, you know, they belong to that community. When you go to certain grounds in England, they're surrounded by housing, normal housing. You know, you go to Goodison Park or something, that is surrounded by just normal houses. They're on match days. It's just carnage for them,
Yeah.
you know, and that's almost like the beauty and the charm of English football, not like American sports, or let's say even like some German stadiums where they're out of the city and you drive there and you park up and walk to the ground. And I think with all of this history, they, you know, they kind of turn their nose up at them. But now I'm conflicted because I look at it and say, well, football's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and if certain teams are going to go and get that advantage, then should we really, in a competitive atmosphere, say no, on principle, we don't want that advantage? Let's look at another way. If, for example, football governing body said, from now on, you're allowed to take performance-enhancing drugs, it's completely within the rules, I'd turn around and be like, well, I don't principally agree with this, but we have a decision to make. Do we do it because that's the rules now and other people are doing it and we're therefore going to be worse off? Or do we take the principle and say no? And I have to admit, I guess in hindsight, looking at the fact that we haven't won a league in over a decade, maybe I was wrong to go down that view of wanting to be financially sustainable. And maybe I should have just thought, go with the times, be pragmatic. What do you think?
I understand the sentiment behind it, and it's the right way to be run. It's completely the right way, and the initial thoughts behind FFP was to go down that, you know, and Wenger put a lot of hope and faith into that being implemented correctly. But I think, you know, the first mistake you make there is putting a lot of hope and faith in FIFA and the best interests of football rather than money. So I think as fans, we saw that a lot earlier than Arsene Wenger, hence why I looked at Usmanov as the shining light. I always thought to myself, one day Kroenke will have enough and Usmanov is waiting in the wings. And that shining light, you know, was eliminated a couple of years ago. And now there isn't one. Now we're grasping at Dangote or somebody else. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not necessarily after a particular individual. I'm just after someone who either cares about the football club or cares about winning. And I'm not saying Roman came in caring about Chelsea, but he cares about his name, his reputation and winning. And that ties in with what fans want for their football club. So I think I'm not necessarily screaming for Dangote to come in. I'm just screaming for someone to come in who cares about either their business or the football club. And I think Kroenke, I'm not sure I can call him a good business owner from an Arsenal fan's perspective because of what we've done. Maybe the Rams fans would say different with the stadium move and whatnot. And I see a super chat here from Milton, and he says Wenger under Usmanov would have thrived, and we could have seen if the board really was the problem. Well, what do you think about that, Mod? Like, obviously, we still haven't got the answers to who that problem was. I think that question will be answered eventually, but I think it still hasn't been answered. And this is post Wenger's book and all of this. So
but look, Milton puts forward like such an interesting hypothetical there because, you know, he's obviously saying that we would have thrived. And I just think to myself, imagine if Usmanov came in and if he was true to his word, which we don't know, if he was true to his word and he came out and bought the club, and then imagine if he said to Arsene Wenger, you know, this stadium debt that you're paying, selling players for to manage and pay off. And, you know, a lot of people will know this. Equally, a lot of people won't know this. The bank that lent us money to finance our stadium had a clause in the contract to ensure Arsene Wenger stays as Arsenal manager. That's how central he was. Give me another example of that in world football. There wasn't one. Arsene Wenger was hugely influential, and he, in my opinion, Arsene Wenger took a personal responsibility to see us financially stable out of that stadium purchase, and did actually, in hindsight, what we now realize is potentially a very, very good job in keeping us competitive. Did he decline at the end? Yes, absolutely. You know, at the top level, when you're not trying to win trophies, that's the start of your decline. And when Arsene Wenger accepted that the stadium now is the priority and managing it and hoping to come out of it, at the point at which he accepted we're not trying to win the league every year, I felt that was the start of the decline. And he was very much caught out by what no one could have predicted, this injection of billionaires into football and the TV rights going crazy and the impact of fans actually in the stadium being minimized as a revenue stream. All of these things worked against us in terms of timing. And you look at a club like Chelsea, the introduction of the first billionaire, their timing was spot on. They were absolutely perfect with their timing. Now, I look at it and I say, if Usmanov had come in and said, Arsene Wenger, don't sell players, I will personally finance the stadium, you know, out of my own pocket, for example, because he loves the club, God knows what would have happened if he had said, "You just focus on winning leagues again."
Yeah, because talking about selling players, Milton with another super chat says, under another owner, we could have had a team of Fabregas, Ozil, Nasri, and Van Persie in the same team because we would not have had to sell the assets. Exactly what Mo was saying there, and you said Roman came in bang on time, and it was pretty much the same time that Dean thought to introduce Kroenke, and we know now he got the wrong man initially, but on how football went, we knew he had the right direction. You know, he then came in with Usmanov, and as you can see with Everton, Mo, Usmanov is not actually directly related, or his name is not, you know, stamped on this improvement, but behind Mashiri, Usmanov is the one funding it. Everton fans know it. And you know what? That shows that he doesn't necessarily have to be the face of it to have some interest in winning and improving and caring. Do you think Kroenke is a bad business owner?
Based on what I'm aware of his overall track record with many of his teams, yes, I do. But well, actually, no. You said business owner, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Then no. The answer is yes. He's a good business owner, because what do you want as a business owner? You want to increase the value of your asset. You want to make money. Let's put it really simple. You want to make money. He's done that with Arsenal. I don't know about whether he's made money with others, but is he a good sports club owner? No, because that's not why sports club exists. As far as I'm concerned, if I ran Arsenal, I would run them as not-for-profit in a way, in the sense that, yes, you try and make money, but all of that goes back into the team. All of that goes back into the club. I'd basically be saying no one's extracting any money for their own personal gain from this club. It's like Transport for London. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they'll increase the fares, but that's because they're always trying to improve the infrastructure. And that's what I'd be doing, trying to improve the infrastructure of the club to get more and more success. So on that basis, he's an awful club owner.
Essentially, can you say that it's more an investment in stock than it is an owner of a business? Because that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, the business could be anything. He could be selling cupcakes. It doesn't matter to him whether it's Arsenal, football, or, you know, cakes. It doesn't matter at all. And that's what really bothers me. There's no passion for the reason we exist. There's no passion for that.
Yeah, it's like he bought shares in some stocks and he's let it run. Sometimes it goes high, sometimes it dips, but you hold out for what's around the corner. And that's literally how he's used us from the beginning till now. But I do want to move on from Garma.
He's bought Arsenal how people buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They do not care at all about what Bitcoin is used for, about anything other than that value going up.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. And we could talk about this all day. People know I can talk about it all day anyway. But we're already half an hour in, and literally at the beginning we went straight into it. I forgot to greet everyone. There's nearly 1,000 people online. Make sure you guys hit the like button. You know, keep on getting your questions and thoughts in. As and when I can, I'll make sure I put them in, and we get some questions out there to Mo. And yeah, Mo, transfer window. I know it's been a week now since it closed, but the last day or two there was quite a bit of movement out of the club. What's your overall rating of it? I don't want to stick on it too long, but yeah, what was your overall rating?
You know, I gave you and Lee Judges a bit of stick on this, didn't I? But I thought it was good, man, because I think it's very, very difficult in the middle of a global pandemic. It's no one has spent any money. Like basically nothing has happened, in terms of big moves. And Arsenal, they strengthened where I think they needed to strengthen in terms of a backup goalkeeper and another attacking midfielder to complement Smith Rowe and to help the team out with creativity issues. And they did that. And on top of that, they took the decision to get players out that needed to get out, because I don't see how they could have been a positive influence if they knew they're not going to get any game time. And they were also, I think they were part of a clique, which is, I'm not slagging them off when I say that. It's quite natural. In any large enough group, there's going to be cliques. And when one person on that clique gets mistreated, naturally it's going to have an impact on you. And so, I feel like they've made the right decision there. But what I would say is that they haven't, I really don't know whether they've been able to negotiate well, whether there's been any sort of like smart acumen on display here in terms of moving people out of the club, or whether it's literally a case of, this is how much we are still due to pay you in your contract, there's the money. Because if you're doing that, it's very easy to do the transaction, but I give them credit because it's not actually easy to press the button because, you know, it's kind of like accepting your losses is hard. That's why people chase their losses. And I would rather Mustafi, Kolasinac, Ozil, if we don't think they're going to be part of the squad, we don't think they're valuable squad members, just move them on. It's the right thing to do for the group as a whole. So all of those things considered, 8 out of 10.
So just to throw a spanner in the works, because something I believe and something that over the last, day has been highlighted even more. I don't believe, and I know how you feel about him individually as a player and as a prospect and an academy player, but again, I want maybe the business perspective or the smart perspective on what we should have done with Eddie, because he wasn't on the bench yesterday. He hasn't really featured much since January. And you've got to ask yourself, if West Ham were interested and if West Ham did have 10, 15 million to give us, that button you talk of pushing, why didn't we push it with that one, which in my opinion is a harder button to push than one with, like you said, giving the money away to the people that are on their way out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me with Eddie, what I would have done personally is sent him out on loan. And because I haven't given up on him, I'll be honest with you, I haven't given up on him. A lot of people have. I have not given up on him. And so I would have sent him out on loan and promoted Balogun to the first team in his absence. Because I feel like when a player comes in fresh and there's no expectation on them, they usually play with more freedom. And that's what we saw with Nketiah when he first came in the team. And I would have liked to have seen if Balogun could have chipped in with some important moments on that basis. And the other one is Reece Nelson. I would have liked to, have seen go on loan. But in any case, Eddie didn't go on loan. I am disappointed about that. I would have also entertained selling him with a buyback clause. So if, for example, West Ham offered us 20 million, I would have happily said, no, I'll take 15 million with a buyback clause for 15 million, Yeah. And then, if he does go and excel at another club, then we can kind of say, yeah, that's it. We'll take the option again. Because, as I say, for me, that could be maybe a bit of a best of both, where you're not giving up on him. You're not saying, no, we don't think you're going to make it. But it does allow you to say, go ahead and go and flourish because you're not getting the game time here.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think people on the chat already know my thoughts on the transfer window. I gave it a 6 at best, but I thought it was average just above because of the reasons you said. We got some business done. I think there was 6 out, 3 in. One of those 3, Odegaard. We saw a glimpse of what he can offer. Do you see anything in him and his loan move here, or do you just see it as a high and buy? Because without no option or obligation, can we really hope or expect much?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think like Odegaard is talented, and you talk to certain people and they rave about him. But I think there's been a lot of hype about him because of the age at which he was signed for Madrid, and he was like one of those people everyone knew about, this Norwegian wonder kid. But I personally feel as though the career trajectory that he's had hasn't been what people would have thought or hoped at the time. And I think it's very difficult to come into English football and to just hit the ground running straight away and smash it. So I'm nervous about having too high hopes for him. I just think that it's important to have him there. He's obviously got good technical ability. I always say this, any player that goes to Barca or Real, for example, that's one thing they will have, is that good technical ability. So he'll definitely have that, and he'll be able to play tidy football. Whether that will translate to him having big moments in games, getting the key assist, playing that key pass, getting that goal, within 6 months of English football at quite a young and inexperienced age, I think that would probably be a step too far for him. So I'm glad we got him, but I don't have huge expectations. But I don't know about you or the people watching who feel maybe that they know Odegaard in more detail.
Yeah, well, I know there's definitely a couple of Norwegian subscribers that do have a bit more detail on him and his background, but I think we can pretty much agree, all of us, that in terms of Champions League hopes this season and the hopes of the money at the very least, it's a no-go in the Premier League. Is there still hope in the Europa League, Mo? And I just don't mean hope in the sense where it's the luck of the draw and it's, anyone can win it. I mean, do you have any hope in the Europa League this season?
Yeah, I do. I do have some hope. It's going to be really tough. We're going to play some very, very good teams, and even Benfica's not a given. But listen, man, I'm an Arsenal fan, and I'm not 10 years old. I've seen Arsenal with some incredible European performances, and I've seen Arsenal go and achieve incredible things. I always live in hope that we can go and do something on our day. And we do have good players. We do have match winners. And in a cup competition, unfortunately, we are a cup team now because we're certainly not sustaining a league challenge. So I do have that hope. And I've just seen a super chat come in, which I love.
Yeah, I see it here. There we are.
Do you think injuries justify us being 10th? And, I almost feel like it's a hypothetical question. Rahul, you can clarify, but absolutely not. And the refereeing decisions as well, they don't justify us being 10th either. There's a bigger core problem at play here, which I feel like he's bringing out very subtly and cleverly in that question.
I will again. I like throwing spanners in the works. So with this one, I've got to again because I think you're right with Rahul and what he's insinuating with being part of the problem. And as much as you're right, injuries to us is a lot more damaging than injuries to a Man City, a Liverpool, a Chelsea, or Tottenham, because I think the drop in quality in depth is far greater at Arsenal than, for example, Tierney being out or Partey being out from the chunks of this season. I'd say, without even them being consistent at this club in terms of game time, that those two are probably two of the best players we've got at this club. And we've been missing them at Arsenal Football Club. So when you miss Thomas Partey, you see more of El Nene, Ceballos, and not Joe Willock anymore. And when you miss Kieran Tierney, you used to see Kolasinac, and now you see Cedric, who doesn't look too comfortable there. So I'd argue that, does it justify us being 10th? In my opinion, someone who predicted, well, I wouldn't call it much of a prediction, but someone who said, I can see us finishing anywhere from 5th to 12th. I think we need to understand that there is only a few key players at this club still. There is still a lot of work that needs to be done, Mo. And let's say we lose Saka tomorrow. We're not going to be the same club for the rest of the season, because the drop-off is so major that I can't just say it doesn't. I know what Rahul means. I know what you mean. But how much, I asked this on Twitter earlier too. I think Claude, I asked it to, and a couple of people on the channel too. How much percentage of blame do you put on Mikel Arteta for where we are at Arsenal Football Club in general right now? Not just league position, but take that into account. Being out of the FA Cup, having won the FA Cup last year, and how he's built on it and what he's done overall. What percentage of blame? And that percentage is basically, if we change manager, you'd have this much percentage of hope that it would change with that manager. Sure.
Okay. It's a good question. And again, do you know one thing I hate, Turkish, is talking about flipping managers, because people get so emotional, flipping emotional. I don't care who the manager of Arsenal Football Club is. I just want them to do well. So please spare me the tears. When Arteta won the FA Cup, I gave him all the credit. And now we're, 10th in the league or wherever the hell we are. I don't even know anymore. He has to take vast majority of the blame. And this season, overall, Arteta has been poor, very, very poor. And the way we started the season off is down to him. This was before injuries or bad refereeing decisions. It was a lineup that he was selecting, the absolute lack of creativity, the way he handled the Ozil situation, all of these things that created an upset in the team. That was all down to him. And yeah, we've turned the corner a little bit, which again, he gets the credit for. And now, most recently, you can turn around and say, yeah, he's had some bad luck with injuries or red cards or refereeing decisions. So I'd say, overall, 75% Arteta. It's on him. It is absolutely on him. And that's another reason why, in the transfer window question, I give it an 8 out of 10, because if I was the owner of the club, would not be saying, Arteta, you've got me convinced, here's my money. I'd be saying, jury's still out on you. I'm not sure. I'd rather do loans. It's mad because I actually said 75% ownership and direction at this club. Even down to now, I'd say that things like the FA Cup win were testament and credit to the manager, well, Wenger at that time and Arteta now. I feel like the manager managed to do something or squeeze something out of, a rotten lemon. That's how I see those. So I didn't really see them as, okay, and in a sense, you are right. It's giving them all the credit. But at the same time, I give them credit for getting the last bit of juice out of a rotten lemon. But then I'm going to slander them for trying to get more juice out of that rotten lemon, when in reality, how much can you get out of it? That's just how I see it. And my 75%, that leaves 25%. And even then, I'd probably say 15% Arteta, 10% the players. Right. Tell me this. Yeah. Tell me this, then, yeah. Are West Ham fans happy with their owners? Probably not overall, no. Not at all. And
No.
are United fans happy with their owners?
No.
Yeah, and look at what they're doing in the league. And that's why I feel like, as bad as an owner is, it's they only have a certain level of influence. And when you see like the structure of the club crumbling, I feel like, yeah, then you can turn around and say it's on them, like a Newcastle almost. They've literally decimated that club in a way. But when you see a club ticking along, like no ambition, but just ticking along. Managers at that point, they do have an ability to come in, and they've got a lot more influence, in my opinion, over the fortunes of the club. But again, you have to take it on a case by case. When I look at Arteta, I was banging on and on and on in the early part of the season, or let's say the first third of the season, about it's his decisions that are costing us. It's literally his decisions. I haven't been saying that recently because generally the decisions are correct. And you can turn around and say, yeah, refereeing decisions, blah, blah, blah. But he's picking generally the right lineups. I don't understand bringing Willian on instead of Martinelli. There's still an element of his decisions. But in the first third of the season, it was all him and his decisions that led us to this. And that's why, for me, it's 75.
75. We've got another super chat from Milton saying, is Gazidis a better executive than we thought, looking at AC Milan? What's your thoughts on him over there? I know he brought in Zlatan and he changed it up a bit, but not a bit, a lot.
Well, I don't think he ever did enough commercially. When I look at the commercial growth when he took over to when he left, it'd be really interesting for me to do that analysis and look at all the Premier League clubs and look at all the financial statements and say who's in the league table grew their commercial revenues by the most percentage. That to me is what he's there to do. And I don't think he did that enough, or I certainly wasn't as happy with it. But I think he had a very mixed time at Arsenal. But yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? We're obviously going to be very passionate, and we don't really care what he does at Milan or anywhere else. And I don't care if he's a good executive. I care about whether he was a good executive for Arsenal. So I guess I'm a bit mixed on that one. It's hard for me to be objective about it. I don't know what you think on that, Turkish.
No, to be honest, I can't forgive Gazidis for his part, because as much as I turned on Wenger, I put other people as the reason why I turned on Wenger, and that's Kroenke and Gazidis as well. I don't think Gazidis challenged him enough. I don't think he was smart enough in his role here. He might have learned and he might have done other things at AC, but here the proof's in the pudding. We came second. We had a bit of money to spend. We bought Xhaka and Mustafi, and here we are now, still not with Mustafi anymore, but literally coming over the fact we had Mustafi and Xhaka hopefully soon. So I feel like I can't forgive Gazidis, and I can't say that we was wrong about him. He made enough mistakes here to know that it won't work out.
Some obvious mistakes that he made or that the club made whilst he was here. We were the only team out of Europe's top 5, all the clubs in Europe's top 5 leagues to not sign an outfield player one season.
Yeah.
And to me, of the other 99, I know it's not 99 because, I think it's Liga that has less. Anyway, are the other 90 odd wrong or are we right? Clearly we're not some sort of unique instance where they're all getting it wrong. And the other one was a Suarez deal. If you're going to do that, have a plan in terms of how you're going to react if they don't agree to what they're apparently meant to be contractually obliged to agree to. Go to court. Go and get Suarez via a court case with the, relevant body. But it's just kind of, it seemed a bit weird to me, some of the things that he did. So yeah, there was definitely blame, but I don't know. I just think that we talk it with a lot of confidence on our own, in person, you and I, and on streams and that sort of thing. And I just think, let's be really honest about it. Would we carry the same energy if we bumped into Gazidis? Let's say we're on holidays at the same hotel and we see him and we say to him, "Oh, Ivan Gazidis, do you mind if I just sit down, have a drink with you, have a chat with you for an hour?" And he says, "Yeah, fine, okay, then I don't mind. Let's have a chat." Would we come up with the same energy? Would we be like, "You're to blame and you did this and you did that"? Or would we be sitting there thinking, actually, it's not like on the pitch, it's not like we can see everything. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of our opinions are based on assumptions. I personally think I wouldn't carry this big man energy in front of him. I'd kind of be saying, I've got a lot of questions that I want answers to rather than telling you what happened.
Yeah, I think we both show respect to others, and I think that's part of it. And I agree. I wouldn't be effing or blinding, nor do I eff and blind here. And I do come across here like maybe a bit more angry than I might with him, but I would have a lot of whys for him. Like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you do that? And depending on his answers to those whys, depending on the mood of the conversation. Because if you take the piss out of me, you know, in terms of my questioning my intelligence with some of your answers, then I might get a bit more agitated with my responses.
Yeah.
You know, I remember Robbie met him once and he said something about, yeah, we're going to sign. He said something and it just ended up not being true. And I just feel like, you know, I can't really.
You know, one of the things that people love to hit him with was the comparison to Bayern Munich. Now, with that one, people get mad about that. But, you know, we've all said something in the past where we say, this is what I want to achieve. I've had friends that have said to me when they're 18, I'm going to be a millionaire by 21, or I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. I don't go back to them and say, what happened? You said you were going to be a millionaire. Because I realized it's a plan. That was their objective. Things don't always go to plan. You know, So when he said that, I thought, yeah, fine, big mistake. You shouldn't have said it. But that was his plan. I don't think that was a promise. It was a plan. And as I say, things don't always go to plan. But again, like you, Turkish, I'd have a lot of whys. I'd be saying to him, why did we not take action after the 40 million and a pound thing with Suarez? Why did that year we not buy an outfield player? And I'd be trying to pin him down on certain things. And if he turned around to me and said, look, Mo, or look, Turkish, on that Suarez issue, I had a document prepared. I had instructed lawyers and I was ready to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And the owner of the club told me I don't have the authority to do that. He did not want to do that. Or Arsene Wenger, you know, in the power that he had, overruled and said, no, if you do this, I leave. And then there would have been significant damage to the club because of the covenants, the bank, whatever. You know, there's so many unknowns that I feel like it's hard to speak with as much authority as we do about on the pitch matters that we can see with our own eyes. So I'd have a lot of questions like you, but who knows what his answer would be?
Yeah, because as much as he knows the football world better than us in terms of the ins and outs behind the scenes, he also knows it enough to send us in circles. So it is very much how he comes across and how much information we know going into that conversation. But you know, there's many a conversation I could have with many of these people that have been in and out of this club from top to bottom. But
wouldn't you love it? Wouldn't you love to have that opportunity? It'd be incredible.
I'd absolutely, you know, I wouldn't know where to begin.
Yeah,
you know, I'd need a few. It might be a part 1, part 2, and a part 3 Netflix type of special because I don't think 1 hour does it. You know, I really don't. But it is needed. They do need to start listening to fans in some way, shape, or form to get any sort of that old feeling back, because that old feeling comes with money too. It comes with financial gain too. It comes with all of that. You know, it's not like we've just forgotten about everything and we don't want to help support the club and buy merchandise and do this and do that and spend all the money in the world. But at the same time, you've got to give us something back. You've got to show that it's been going towards something that we can believe in. We can't just be, you know, throwing it down the drain in a sense. But Mo, back to the Europa League. We got Benfica coming up. What is our strongest 11? And do we go with that in the Europa League and now prioritize that ahead of the Premier League?
Do you know what? I don't actually even know if I know what our strongest 11 is. Is it? We know it's Leno. We know it's Tierney, and I think it's Bellerin on the right hand side. Personally,
I'd say Cedric.
Yeah, okay. In the middle, I think Gabriel's in there, and I don't know if it's Holding or Mari.
Yeah, that's a good one because that's one that I asked myself before coming on here to ask you. I thought I'd say Mari ideally, but obviously we haven't seen the 2 left-footed centre-backs together yet, so that would just be hoping for the best. In terms of combinations we've seen out of the ones we've got, it'd have to be Gabriel and Holding because we've seen them more often than Mari and Holding or Louise and Holding. What would you say?
I personally, I know Holding didn't cover himself in glory in our last game, but I will personally go Gabriel and Holding as my current favoured. And then in midfield, obviously Partey, obviously Saka, obviously Emile Smith-Rowe. Pepe has to start for me as well. So, and also I think Xhaka has actually been really good recently, but he's not the long-term answer, you know. But I feel like would I put Ceballos in front of, would I disrupt Xhaka and Partey, given how well they've played together, by changing Xhaka with Ceballos around Nenny? No. I feel like right now I would play those 2. And then up top, Aubameyang.
Yeah. I'd say the same. I think we have seen good stuff out of maybe El Nene and Partey against United in the first game, and maybe even Ceballos and Partey earlier in the season. I think even Ceballos and El Nene had a couple of good games together. But I think based on recent form, I would say that right now you would put Xhaka in that starting 11. And you said we shouldn't need to prioritize in terms of the FA Cup. Do you think we need to prioritize now, considering how important some of these players are? Moving into, let's say we got Leeds next, and then we got Benfica. You know, if Tierney and Partey are on the edge of return, do you put them in against Leeds, or do you give them some minutes and prepare them from Benfica?
Well, I personally can't see us doing much in the league. I think our priority should be the Europa League now. But again, as I would say, do the rotation with balance. You know, only he knows the fitness levels and that sort of thing. Be ambitious. Try and get top 6. Which I can't believe I'm saying that's ambitious. But if I complete the sentence, win the Europa League and try and finish in the top 6 in terms of what you're aiming for in the season. And when I say top 6, that's not limited to 5th and 6th. That's, you know, any one of those positions in the top.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say be ambitious.
100%. Let me just get this super chat in. Alan says, the owner does not tell you ever to get 2 Premier League proven midfielders, i.e. Buendia and Basuma, versus spending everything on Partey. I guess I know where you're coming from with that, and I do understand it. There is still an argument to say Partey is still a better signing than if we got them both, and there is an argument to say we can't get both for 45 million together. So there's things behind it, but I also understand what you're saying, and what you're saying is it doesn't all come down to the owner. But what I'm saying is it came down to the owner when they allowed Wenger and Gazidis too much time misspending, messing up the wage structure. Then Sven Mislintat had his strategy. Then Raul had his strategy. And now Edu has his strategy. So in the last 2.5 years, we've gone through 3 different strategies after holding on to one of those strategies in Gazidis and Wenger for far too long. So as much as it comes down to these individuals I've just named, when does the owner come into play? Because any business in the world who goes from profit-making to loss-making, if you open a newspaper and say, wow, they used to make billions and now they're making a loss. You don't go to who's the manager of the individual stores or who's the manager of the area. You go to the owner of the business and say, what was you doing all this time? You know, that's how I see it. And big up David as well in the building. Appreciate that, my guy with the super chat. David says, I got lost in the sauce thinking we could make top 4. My bad. Listen, it's part of being a fan, you know. It happens. Don't ever get it twisted. A couple of years ago, I was singing on my channel for Nicolas Pepe, and here we are, a year and a half later, wondering if he remains. And people say we're crap. Arteta's rubbish. We lose, and they lose their minds, like they really expected any different. Looks like they're lost in the sauce too. Blessings, bro. Yeah, it does. It looks like we've all been lost in the sauce for a little while, and it's just time to climb out of it and maybe wipe some of that sauce out of our eyelids and open them a bit, because it's been a long road here, Mo. This didn't just happen overnight, did it?
Yeah, man, for sure. And I think like a lot of people, they got a bit carried away in that winning streak, and probably a truer level of where we are and the sort of inconsistency that we're very susceptible to. A couple of bad moments in a game, and that's it. The game's out of our grasp. You know, whether that comes from our mistakes, good play by the opposition, or bad refereeing decisions. There's certain teams out there that produce so many good moments in a game that they can handle a couple of bad moments if they go against them. But we're definitely not at that level, and that's where you get the inconsistency from. You need to get to a stage where you're dominating games, properly in control of games, and we're nowhere near that. Even in our winning streak against the Chelsea game, I'd say that was a really comprehensive win. But even at the end of that, it could have got really dodgy. You know, we saved a penalty, could have been 3-2 and like close. But so even that, like as one of our standout games, it just kind of shows the signs there's some frailties in there we need to iron out. And until we do, we'll be inconsistent. Yeah,
we got some, a good luck here from the signature saying, Mo, good luck on the new arrival. Arteta really has showed he isn't at this level. 3 defeats to Dean Smith, raise awareness to the Indian farmers. Respect.
Listen, man, thank you so much for the good wishes. And look, Indian farmers, I've tweeted about it. I've shared it on my socials as well. Big up to all of them and what they're trying to do, protect their livelihood, and they have my support.
Yeah. Do you know what you're having yet in terms of boy girl?
No, I don't, man.
Okay. I just had my little man. Your one might be coming. So closely linked. So obviously, big up Mo on that one, and congratulations. But listen, everyone, 1,000 people here. We're an hour in. I don't want to keep Mo much longer. Obviously, he's got business to attend to. So, Mo, any last minute thoughts? Anything to get out of the way before we keep it moving?
Are we going to win the Europa League, Turkish?
No, Mo, we're not, if I'm honest. But you know what's funny, Mo? I predict we lose. We don't lose. As soon as I predict we win, we go and lose. So
yeah,
who knows what this club has in store? Let me throw that question right back at you. Are we going to win the Europa League?
No. And are we going to finish top 6?
No. Are we?
I'll answer that next time.
All right, tune in next time. Hopefully, we'll be back around the 21st of February, maybe a Sunday again if Mo can do it. But obviously, we'll see what's happening. We got a couple last-minute super chats here. One from John saying, "I think Arsenal should have a season away from the Europa League and focus on Premier League and see what we can do." That's pretty much what I said at the beginning of the show, John. I think it's a case of we don't want to give up. But at the same time, we're trying to see the positives in potentially missing out on European football and what it might bring. But it's still a massive risk in itself either way. And we've got another one here from Theodore saying, "Big up Turkish and Mo. I think the Villa loss feels worse because of the Wolves loss beforehand. We were just on it. Yes, we just were not on it yesterday. Congrats on the little ones." Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Any thoughts on that, Mo?
All I'd say is that, look, these inconsistent performances against Wolves and Villa and that sort of stuff that we have to tolerate. When my little one and Turkish's little one are bossing the midfield in about 18 years, don't worry. We'll be winning leagues at a canter.
Trust me. Look out for it, people. Definitely. I can't wait. I can't wait for all these years to come. I don't even get me thinking about that. I've got business to attend to now myself. But Mo, thanks for obviously giving me another hour of your time. Hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll be back. Actually, Leeds, Benfica, Man City, 2 league games and 1 first leg Europa League. What do you think? Out of 6 points, Leeds at home, Man City at home?
Leeds at home. God, oh man, that's such a tough one to call, isn't it? When Leeds are playing, what the hell to expect?
Yeah.
I reckon we'll beat Leeds, draw against Benfica, and lose against Man City.
Beat Leeds, draw Benfica, lose against Man City. Okay, I'm saying we draw to Leeds, we beat Benfica, and we lose to Man City.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with, people. We'll be back after those 3 fixtures. We'll see how that worked out for us. But people, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you take pictures, screenshot it, share it. At Turkish LDN, you see it there. At Arsenal Mo 8, you see it there. Instagram and Twitter.
Before we go,
yeah, go on.
I've said we'll beat Leeds and draw to Benfica. You've said the other way around. Draw to Leeds, beat Benfica. Yeah. But if you could choose, if we could only win 1 game out of Leeds and Benfica, which one would you choose?
Benfica.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I just feel like, the league, I hate to say it more, but I'm not too interested in the league right now. It's good to see Arsenal playing, and I love it when we're playing, and I look for it in the schedule, 2 days left. But in essence, whether it's 3 points, 1 point, or no points, I don't expect much. So I think with the Europa League, it can surprise me. The Premier League's not surprising me, so I'm going to go with Europa. What about you?
I'd rather win in the Europa League because we have seen teams, let's say Liverpool, when they got to the final of the Champions League, having really average Premier League form, but then European football is just different, and even United, when they got to when they won the Europa League, average in the league, go and do something in Europe. And I kind of feel like it feels different. Yeah. It's a break from the troubles and the problems. And I'd like us to try and build some momentum in the Europa League where it has a different vibe and a different feeling to it. And hopefully that the FA Cup salvaged our season last season. If we can go and win the Europa League, then I feel like it will do wonders in terms of salvaging our season and giving Arteta a real platform. Yeah. Everyone behind him and a track record.
Listen, that is the best case scenario. We get a trophy for us and the fans that we haven't won before. The board get all the Champions League money, no excuses. All them wages come off the wage bill. What possibly could go wrong? But as an Arsenal fan, we know that it all could go wrong. So we'll see. Tune into another one in a couple of weeks, people. We'll be back. And like I said, hit the like button. We're out. Take care. Have a good Sunday evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you guys are tuning in from. Thanks for all the love and support. Take care.